But despite his efforts, the closest Ferranti ever got to Bieber was this driving licence. The suspect had applied for it 8 months after he fled, and it showed he was already altering his image.
He had a little bit more weight. It looked like that he wasn't working out regularly at the time. His hair was permed rather than straight. So, I mean, he did try to, obvious that he did alter his looks.
If Bieber was going to evade the police, he needed a different name to go with his changed appearance. He searched graveyards for an identity to steal. The name he chose was Nathan Wayne Coleman, who had died in 1975 at the age of 6. Using the young boy's identity, Bieber successfully applied for a birth certificate and a passport. Along with a new name and a new image, he was able to head for a new country, Britain.
You're robbing an identity of a child who lost its life. He was that desperate to get out of here. I believe that everything he did was very well thought out.
All Bieber's meticulous planning paid off. For 8 years, he had evaded the American police.
What's your country of birth then? How long you been in country? A long time.
But in December 2003, his lies had finally caught up with him. West Yorkshire police now knew the man they wanted was not Nathan Coleman, but David Bieber. And all the signs were that he was trying to escape again. He'd already collected his guns, now he was getting his money. CCTV showed him visiting a series of banks across the north of England. And he was preparing to begin life in yet another different country.
We tracked down that he'd bought a ticket on the Eurostar to go to Paris a few days later, so his aim was to get into Europe. And from then, it would have been incredibly difficult to track this individual. This was a person already in the States who was a fugitive, who would have stopped at nothing, who had been cunning and using guile to escape the States under a false name, under a dead child's name. We had to be up to the mark with this to get this guy.
December the 30th, 2003. Britain was gripped by the search for PC Ian Broadhurst's killer. A reported sighting had closed down York's railway station to allow police to search it. It was a false alarm. Bieber hadn't gone to York, he had headed further north. The Royal Hotel stands on a quiet road just off the A1 near Gateshead.
You get to meet all sorts of people. You know, there's always different clientele coming and going. Basically just different sorts of people all the time coming and going.
It was almost empty apart from the manager, Vicky Brown. A couple of hours into her shift, she signed in a new guest.
He come in with big old-fashioned glasses and a big woolly hat. He just looked strange. I just felt as though he was very, not agitated, but he wanted to get away as soon as possible. He didn't want to hang about, he didn't want to talk. Normally I would go up to the room and open the door for them, but this particular time I wouldn't. I just stood at the bottom stairs and told him where to go. I wouldn't go upstairs with him. It was just something wasn't right.
Vicky was worried. She called the hotel's owners. Aware a killer was at large, they called the police.
All me phone, she says there's something queer about him, you know?
Right, so the staff there all night?
She's there, yes, she will be there, yeah.
And how long is he booked in for?
Just one night.
As Vicky waited for the police in the empty hotel, she realised she'd seen this man's face before.
There was newspapers behind the bar, so I just picked it up and I was reading through it, and obviously I got to this page and I seen that picture and the piercing eyes. I just remember thinking, looking at him, thinking that's the way he looked. Doesn't matter what angle you look at it from, they're just staring right through you. They're just piercing, they're dead. So I just got a pen and I thought, could it be him? So I sat and drew a pair of glasses onto the face and put like a beer towel over his head, and it looked very much like the guy that checked in. Just could not believe it, that I'm sitting down looking at this guy and he's like staring back at me, and it was like 10 hours previous when he was standing in reception staring at us. It was the same eyes. You know, what was he like? What background? What was he going to do?
Vicky was alone in a hotel with a desperate, dangerous man.
Just locked up everywhere. Went upstairs, locked myself in a room, and just kept waiting for the phone calls. Did he have any reason not to try and get away? You know, if they caught him, obviously he was going away for a very long time, so he had nothing to lose, basically. I was terrified. I was totally terrified. I smoked. It was Christmas, so when the heating goes off, the building cools down, so it creaks, and what's that noise? And I heard a noise which was inside the building. I thought he was coming down the stairs, and my knees buckled, and I gave the give way. I fell on the floor.
But the noise wasn't Bieber. It was the police.
It is an unusual hotel to go to, but if you wanted somewhere quiet, you come to the right place.
And this time, they weren't taking any chances. A team of armed officers closed in on the room.
At one point, the door briefly opened. I firmly believe that he probably could have seen us, but we didn't see him.
7 long minutes passed. No one knew what would happen next.
I think that David Bieber weighed up his odds there. Can I get out of this hotel room alive? And I think he realised the answer to that question was no.
Bieber walks from the room.
We're going to lie down on the ground. You move his hands away from his body. You instruct the person that when we are going to search them not to make any sudden movements or they may be shot. And at that point he replied, you wouldn't shoot an unarmed man.
That just sums up the individual that we're dealing with. This is a person who has no thoughts of anyone but himself.
Bieber's hair was dyed bright ginger, yet another attempt to disguise himself from the police. But his 8 years of hiding and scheming were finally over, and now it was him who was at gunpoint as he was taken to a high-security police station.
I could not believe that this man had been arrested and nobody else had lost their life. It was absolute relief. David Bieber shot and killed 1 unarmed officer and nearly killed 3. So that's the measure of David Bieber.
Back in Bieber's room, the gun that killed PC Broadhurst was hidden under the mattress, and it was loaded, ready to be fired. With it, 200 rounds of ammunition, enough to cause carnage.
He was prepared for anything, and he would have shot his way out of there had he been given a chance.
But that wasn't all. There were 4 American birth certificates in different names, a set of passport photos and a list of names, all from the UK, all people who had died.
He was using everything in his guile and craft and cunning to avoid capture, and he'd successfully done it from America. He was looking to do it as well from his latest crime here in England.
David Bieber stood trial for murder in November 2004. By the end, one of Britain's and America's most wanted men was behind bars. He was jailed for life and will never be released.
It wasn't enough. It doesn't bring Ian back. It doesn't take the pain away from the rest of Ian's family and friends. We still don't get Ian back at the end.
But even in his cell, Bieber's still plotting. Locked inside Britain's most secure jail, there's only one